I'm Tom, a digital media assistant here at Buckinghamshire New University. We're proud to be recording our second episode of our brand new podcast series titled It Begins With Us, where our students will be talking about their experiences and advice on a range of hot topics. In the latest episode of our podcast, I chat virtually to Stephanie, Edel and Jasmine, who are all undergraduate students specialising in different areas of nursing here at BNU. We'll be discussing what life is like as a student nurse during a pandemic, what the placement opportunities on each course are like, talking about career aspirations, as well as offering advice to anyone who is interested in studying nursing at BNU. Let's get started.
Okay, so I'm Jasmine. I'm on the mental health nursing course and I'm in my first year. I'm repeating my first year to catch up on placement hours that I missed out on due to COVID, and I am from High Wycombe.
I'm Stephanie. I'm in my second year, adult nursing. I'm from High Wycombe.
Hello, my name is Edel. I am in my third year in children's nursing and I'm originally from Ireland, however moved over to London 3 years ago.
So our first question is, what made you want to do a nursing degree at BNU? So have you got any personal experience? Perhaps you've got family members that are nurses or anything like that?
I think I wanted to get into nursing because I had equally bad experiences with mental health nurses, but I also had really good experiences with mental health nurses. So I was coming into this knowing the kind of things that I would never say to a patient because of how they'd impacted me when I was the patient. So I kind of wanted to come into this to be somebody's good experience with a mental health nurse.
I wanted to get into nursing because I did care work for a really long time, and it was just kind of, it was the next logical step, and it was something that, like Jasmine, I had experiences with nurses that were not good and also experiences with nurses that were good, and I wanted to be, somebody's good experience, so that's why I applied.
I chose to do nursing because when I was younger, I was in hospital for quite a long time. And I think the way the nurses cared for me, I just really wanted to do that part to the children I come across. And I feel that I'm like, I love helping people. And I feel it just was the vocation for me.
Cool, thanks everyone, it's a really good start. So all of you would have experienced some form of industry placement. Jasmine probably less so as you're on your first year, but can you briefly describe what placements you've done already, where you were based and how many hours you've done?
Yes, cool. So my placements, I'm placed at St Mandeville Hospital. We're supposed to do a community placement, but we didn't do one in our first year because of COVID. I've got a community placement coming up, but my placements are, at the moment, they're ward-based. I do 12-hour shifts. And they're enjoyable, to be honest. All my placements, I've been really lucky that I've had really good ones.
Yeah, so for my first year, I was in a day case service ward. So these are all paediatrics. And then in your first year in Buckley Trust, you need to do an adult placement. So for 4 weeks, I was in an AMU, so like acute medical unit for 4 weeks. And then I was in also, so I had my learning disability school. So I was in a school with children who had autism. And then second year then I was in a special care baby unit. So taking care of like babies. So in like the neonation you have NICU, neonatal ward and SCBU. So that SCBU is like when the babies, they're like, they need just like that kind of extra care, but not as sick as your NICU babies. And then I was in, so then COVID happened. So then that placement was cut down. And so normally in BUT you have 12-week placement and 12-week placements. So my 12-week placement was cut down to 5 week. So then I was then put into a general peds ward, a general pediatric ward in London. And then my third year placement, my first year third placement was in a pediatric intensive care unit. So for the first 4 weeks of that, it was an adult COVID ICU, but I'll explain more of that to you later. And then I am now going into my sign-off placement next week in paediatric A&E. And I've enjoyed every single one of them.
That's a lot of placements. What would you say is your probably favourite one? Most enjoyable placement?
every one of them brings a different strength. Every one of them brings a different element to them. And I think when I'm qualified, I'm going to do the rotation program in the trust that I'm working in. And yeah, so I think every one of them is just amazing and brings out a different strength to them. Like a kind of a general pediatric ward, you have your 4 patients. You can mind a baby, like a 14-year-old. You don't know what you're going to be minding. And then in kind of in PICU, then you have your one-to-one care, critical, really sick children. However, you can give that care and compassion to them. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I've really been looking to have had such a wide range of experiences. Yeah, they've been amazing.
Cool, brilliant. And Jasmine, did you say you did a placement?
I did a very short 5 weeks before COVID pulled us out. I was on a psychiatric rehabilitation unit for adults with long and enduring mental health issues such as paranoid schizophrenia, and yeah, in the 5 weeks that I was there, it was intense, but it was really, really eye-opening to see kind of someone come in at the start of their journey, a different patient be discharged at the end of their journey. They would stay on the ward for about 12 to 18 months, so they'd be there a long time, and the aim was to teach them life skills, find them somewhere supported living wise to live, and get them managing themselves and their condition and so forth successfully, so they weren't readmitted to hospital in the future.
So it sounds like you've all done really beneficial placements covering a wide range of different areas. So I guess this leads nicely onto my next question. How do you deal with difficult circumstances whilst on placement? So, for example, Jasmine, as a mental health nurse on placement, you must see some complex cases when people first come to you for help. So how do you go about dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, we would get most of our patients from the neighbouring acute wards or the neighbouring PICUs, which is different to Edel's PICU with psychiatric intensive care unit. Yeah, it was challenging at times, and I think the best thing that I did was speak to my mentor or speak to someone from the university or speak to another student nurse, and just kind of we'd talk things through. And yeah, I think for me it was making sure that if I was worried about something, or if I didn't understand something, or if I was concerned about a patient, that I spoke to someone there and then about it, and that I didn't take it home with me. That's my biggest thing, is to speak to someone there and then, so that you know that your concern or your worry has been answered, and you can go home knowing that you've dealt with that and you can leave it there.
Yeah, you touched on that in the mental health podcast we did as well. So yeah, if any of you haven't listened to that, go and give that a listen. Edel and Stephanie, how do you deal with like difficult circumstances whilst you're on placement?
I have had quite a few difficult circumstances. It's quite busy where I am working at the moment, so it's quite easy for nurses to kind of forget that you're only a student, and sometimes, they will just throw things at you and say, can you go and do this? And it's quite, sometimes you think, oh, I can do it, but sometimes you think like, oh, I'm not quite sure if I understand, and you don't want to make yourself a burden in that situation, but it's really important to clarify, because it's better to clarify it than make a mistake. So I would agree with what Jasmine said, just talking to people and making sure that you understand. Nobody's going to be annoyed with you for making sure that you understood before you went and just did it wrong. So yeah, just talking to the university, the staff, other students is really important. And honestly, nobody minds. Like, that was my biggest worry, was that like I was going to be annoying or like keep asking questions, but nobody minds, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah,
I think in that kind of nursing, it's very rewarding, but it's also quite emotional. And you see, like especially in my first 4 weeks, I was working in an adult COVID ICU, because my PICU was changed to an adult COVID ICU for the first 4 weeks. So that was very, very tough emotionally, physically, but also made me and grounded me for such a better, well-rounded nurse. And like, it really did bring up my confidence. And I totally agree with Jasmine in when you leave and stuff, like, don't. That's one thing in like with children nursing and any nursing, if you have a patient and you have them for a long time, you go rapid with them, especially in children's nursing. You have the families and they trust you, and then you go rapid with them, and then like if something happens to them and it will make you upset, or even sometimes I'll be a 12-hour shift, but I want to stay for longer because I want to see how my patient is doing, and trying to kind of shut my brain off is quite hard sometimes. But I think just talking to like your friends, like your colleagues, and just kind of like anything, and exactly, I think it's so important. That's one kind of tip I would give as a third year student nurse to anyone in the student nursing field, is that if you're ever unsure, always ask, because if you do something and you do it wrong, that will impact on patient care. So always ask if you're unsure, and like there's no questions ever stupid.
So next question is, how have you found your nursing journey at BNU? So what have you enjoyed the most? Any challenges you've come across, anything like that?
Although I've not been at VNU for very long, I've enjoyed every minute, because you go into the nursing school in Uxbridge and it just feels like home. You know, everybody there is so friendly. They're always asking how you're doing. They always want to support you. It just, it's such a supportive atmosphere. And then, you know, at times it's difficult. You come across some colleagues that have differing opinions to you, and sometimes you really don't agree with their opinion. But that's also a really important part of nursing, is that somebody is going to potentially have a different opinion or a different way of looking at a certain thing than you are, and that's the massive part of nursing. We're all coming together with different experiences, different opinions, to best treat the patient, and at the end of the day, the patient is the focus, and if the patient gets the best level of care, that's what matters.
Cool.
Yeah, I would agree with that. My favourite part of being at BNU is definitely been the placements for me. Obviously, while you're at placement, you still have contact with the university, so you're not like out there on your own. You still have like the support and everything from the lecturers. You have like a link lecturer, and for me, I'm not very academic, so the essays and all that sort of thing, it's not my favourite thing to do. So it's definitely been the placements for me. But that being said, the support that I've had from the university with getting through my placements has been like second to none. I can't stress it enough. I've really struggled with one assignment in particular, and the support that I've had to fix it and make sure that I get through it has just been like, I've been in tears over it, but they've really, really helped me with that. Cool.
But I think like as a student coming to the end now of her journey and her end of her degree, I think like your butts, they have been brilliant. They've been very supportive. Like I feel especially my personal tutor has been just absolutely phenomenal. Especially during the extended placement, and before that, when we were kind of waiting, it was a very anxious time, and she was always there replying back my emails. I feel especially in butts with the 50% to 50% placement, I feel nursing is very much a practical subject, and having that time, having that 6 months out in placement is so amazing, and really something that I think puts butts very well is the amount of time they put into their placements. I have absolutely enjoyed my time there. The field has been very good, and it's been a good time in butts.
Great. So if you had to give one bit of advice for your first year self, what would it be? So perhaps for those that are listening today that are thinking about studying nursing at BNU, or those that are just about to start their first year, what advice would you give to them?
Reach out before things get too difficult. Like if you're struggling with an assignment, if you're struggling with a health condition, if you're struggling with a disability of any sort, reach out and get the support before things get too on top of you. Because looking back, I wish I'd reached out and spoken to people about what I was struggling with before I did, because I think it would have been a lot easier to turn things around had I reached out before things got as difficult as they did. So speaking to people, because as I said, people at BNU want to support you. So reach out, because we're all here.
Yeah, I would say to myself, just relax. Like, I was so wound up. When I came for my interview, I threw up. I was so nervous. I've never been so nervous for something in my life, and I've had 4 children. So this was like a really big thing for me. And yeah, I would just say relax. Like, everybody was so nice. I didn't have anything to worry about. And that would, definitely be just enjoy it, because it goes so quick. And people say it to you at the beginning, like, it goes so quick, and it'll be over before you know it. And I'm nearly in my 3rd year. I start my 3rd year this year, and I can't believe that it's gone by so quickly. So I would just say enjoy it, and it's really not as bad as you think it's going to be.
Edel, I don't know if you want to come in on that.
Yeah, I would say I enjoy every minute of it, because it actually goes so fast. And I remember in first year, I really did lack confidence a lot. I remember in skills I couldn't find a pulse. I was like, oh my, why can't I find a pulse? I think when you're in then your placement, or you're doing it literally 20 million times all the time, you will get it. And I think the one thing really is that, and I always say this as a student ambassador doing children's nursing open days or nursing open days, is even though we're not getting paid to do what we do, and you always need to remember those thank yous that the patient are giving you, and that even adult mental health or child, the small that a patient gives you is nothing than what it can give you. And that's all I say to any first year or anyone, is you'll never take away a smile, and you'll always remember someone's thank you, but money will go away in an instant. So kind of always remember that as a first year or a second year, or anyone think they're going into nursing. Just remember that.
Cool. And I guess that kind of leads nicely to my next question. So obviously the past year has been really difficult for us all with the pandemic and stuff. But have you felt the national support for nurses and health professionals? Have you got any kind of people who've been saying you're doing really well? Have you felt the national support?
I definitely have. I worked, the placement that I'm on at the moment is quite a lot of COVID patients, and even right in the beginning, I wasn't on this particular ward, but from in the beginning we were getting deliveries, daily deliveries from Nando's. People would just turn up with big massive boxes full of food, and the clapping and everything. It was really nice. It was really, really lovely, and it made me really emotional, even though I hadn't really been part of the NHS for very long. The other day I came home from work and I still had my uniform on. I stopped at the chip shop to get myself some food, and this lady, I was sat on the windowsill, and this lady tapped me on my shoulder. I thought she was going to tell me to move my car, so I sort of was gave her this funny look, and she said, excuse me darling, have you paid for your food? And I said, yeah. She's like, oh well, I just want to give you this. She gave me £20, and I was fighting with her to give it back, and I was like, no, I can't take it. And she was like, no, you do so much for us. I'm so grateful. And she stuck it in my top pocket and ran off, and I didn't see where she went. So I was fighting with this lady to give her this £20 back. But it was really nice. And, things like that, when people say thank you, it's just a really nice, Edel said, when thank you, just it goes so far. And, it's been, that is worth more than, like you said, obviously we don't get paid. It makes up for it.
And I guess those sort of things will kind of stick with you forever.
Yeah, this lady, I tell you, if I see her again, I said to her, I'll put it in the charity box, but the chip shop actually didn't have a charity box. They had a tip box, and I thought, I don't want to put it in the tip box. So I reluctantly kept it. But yeah, it was just really nice. If I see her again, she lives in the local area, I assume, because I just live in a little village. But yeah, I would definitely thank her for that. It was really made my year.
Nice. Have either of you two got any random acts of kindness, any memories, anything like that?
I wouldn't say there's anything major, obviously, because I wasn't on placement for long, but I think even the little things, I had in the 5 weeks, I had my birthday that during placement, so I was off the day before my birthday, and the day after my birthday. Somehow I managed to fit it all in, and I was very grateful. And I came back the next time, and one of the patients said to me, he went, oh, I thought you'd left. I didn't think you were coming back. I was sad because I didn't get to say goodbye. And that, like, I'd not even gone, but the fact that he was sad he potentially not got to say goodbye was quite nice. And that does sit with me, that bit. Also, it sits with me that I didn't get to say goodbye to any of the patients because my placement ended so abruptly. I left one shift and then got a phone call from the ward manager saying, don't come back. But yeah, that, like, somebody appreciating my presence and appreciating me being there. Yeah, as Adele said, like, it's the tiny little things like that that stick with you.
Yeah, I think like the national support has been incredible. Like especially like during the COVID times, like the amount of food we were getting. Like I actually stopped bringing my own lunches because I was just like, there's no point. I was like, we're getting the food anyway. And but yeah, like the national support was just incredible, and yeah, just how the whole how the whole country really got behind us, the NHS, and just supported us. And I feel like it's and like even especially during the COVID times, and I had kind of special memories that I celebrate my 21st birthday. So unfortunately, I couldn't get home, back home to Ireland because of COVID. So I actually worked in the COVID ward, and I celebrated my birthday there. And kind of my placement, I actually celebrated it again last for my 20th, and I really call like my hospital I've been in like my St. Mary's family. So the hospital I've been in, and because they've literally been like my second family. And yeah, they've just been incredible. But yeah, the national support has been amazing, and I have loads of memories. But I think if I told you all my memories, I'll be here forever. But yeah, I think with nursing you have plenty of memories, and yeah, they'll stay with you forever.
Perhaps we need a podcast just for memories and all these good stories and things. So that leads me again nicely on to the next question. So what do you enjoy the most about your course? Is it the lecturers? Have they got great experience? Is it the facilities? Obviously, we've spoken a lot about placements and stuff, but is there one thing you enjoy the most about your course?
I would say the freedom that you get with being a student. It's really, like, there's nothing like it. Like, obviously, when you're a student, as a student nurse, you have so much freedom within what you're doing. That's probably the thing I enjoy the most about being there. You can, like where the nurses are sort of tied to the ward, you can go with the patient, like, if the patient goes for a scan, you can go with them for the scan, you can see what happens there. You can go and do like little outreach placements, and it's just, you don't get to do that as being a nurse. So yeah, I would say that's definitely the thing I enjoy the most.
I'd say probably for me, it's the fact that the lecturers want to support you. Like, I came into this, and you're going to laugh, with a fear of needles. I just couldn't even look at a needle without crying. And I started doing injections with one of the lecturers, Mike, and at the start of the lesson, he put a needle in my hand and I was crying. And by the end of the lecture, like the skill session, I was holding this needle and I was doing like injections into the fake arms, the fake bottoms, whatever. I was doing that fully. My hand wasn't shaking, I wasn't crying, I could do it. But that was because of him. That was his support through the whole of the lecture and onwards. It's in the back of his mind that I do have a funny fear with needles, but yeah, it's the fact that they want to support you, they want to work with you to overcome your fears. And they don't just go, oh, come on, you're a student nurse, you can't be afraid of needles, sort of thing.
Cool. Adele, what have you enjoyed the most about your course so far?
So I think really it's been like my class have been like very supportive. With the children's class, it's quite small, so there's only like 16 of us, so we're quite a small supportive group of each other, and like we had the laughs, and we can rely on each other and support each other. And like my lectures have been really good and very interesting, very good in relation to the course. Our still session has been really good, like, and especially in paediatrics, you have your own we have our own stills lab, so especially to children's. But yeah, and I think that the number one really is placements. Like there are a wide variety of placements really, and having that time, that 50 that 50% literally time of placements, like it's just, and you literally, and I think the good thing about bots is that you have, so like in first and second year you have other assignments done. But I know with me now, I'm doing my dissertation at the moment, but like you normally have other assignments done before you go into placement. So at least when you're on placement then, all you worry about is your placement, which is good that you're not kind of doing placements, dissertation, placement assignments. But for me, I'm doing my dissertation. But any other year you are doing, it's good that you're just focusing on your placement, which is really good.
Cool, thanks guys. Final few questions now. So what's the hardest part about being a student nurse?
For me, the hardest part is actually just being the student. It's hard sometimes to be able to speak up, like when you see things that are not right and you think, oh, they're not going to listen to me because I'm just a student. Which, that's really difficult, because sometimes, someone can actually be wrong what they're doing. A couple of times, like I've been doing medication and the nurse has calculated it wrong, and you just think, do I tell her she's calculated it wrong? Like, am I going to correct this? You have to correct them, but it can be daunting to say, I think I would say that's wrong, like it's the wrong quantity, and then they'll happily do it again and go, oh yeah, like thank you. But it's quite daunting to be able to say, like, I don't agree with what you're saying, or that's probably the hardest part for me, being a student, is just saying like, oh, and actually being upset, because sometimes I've seen a lot of like deaths, and it can be quite hard, and you forget that you are human, and sometimes it is going to be upsetting and you're going to cry, and just allowing yourself to be upset sometimes is quite hard.
I think for me, it's the idea of coming in, and particularly in mental health, things can change quite quickly. There's been times where I've come in and I've come in and they've said, right, okay, well, this patient's absconded. We don't currently know where they are. And, they're on a section, and it's worrying, because that sort of thing you do end up taking home with you. You can't just, go home and not think, okay, this patient could be anywhere. This patient's really unwell and is out and about and nobody knows. It's that kind of thing, coming in and not knowing what you're going to walk into. And I know that's kind of life in nursing, not knowing what you're going to walk into, but when you are on a ward with potentially only 15 patients, and those 15 patients have been there for so long, you get to know them, you get to, you build up a relationship with them. And then if they relapse in a behaviour, if they end up in general hospital, if they go missing, it's really difficult, because whilst you're trying to focus on everything else, all of the other patients are then worried about this one particular patient who's not there anymore. So it's that for me. It's the fear of coming in and something really drastic having happened.
So what sort of things do you do to kind of take your mind off that after you've finished placement or university? Like, is there anything you enjoy doing outside of university?
To be fair, I'm quite lucky. I come home and my mum's a childminder, so I come home and there are small people that want my attention. So I can't go and sit and do nothing when there's a 4-year-old that wants me to do colouring and a 6-year-old that wants me to read them the same book that I read them the last 3 days. I come home and there's always stuff to do. And I think that's important as a student nurse, is not necessarily to just let yourself sit for too long. Yeah, all right, you do need some time to process what you've done in the day, but if you sit and process for too long, processing turns into overthinking, and then you're going down a downward spiral. So it's finding the balance of keeping busy, but also giving yourself that relaxation and recuperation time.
I don't know if Adele wants to come in on that. What have you found the most difficult or hardest about your course so far?
Yeah, I just think it's the emotion aspect of it. And like, as I said before, kind of switching off, it can be hard. Like, some days you just want to just stay on for a bit longer after your shift and just make sure that patient is okay. Even though you're just literally you're so tired, but you want to stay, because you grow a rapport with the patient. Like, it's inevitable that you will do. And I think you'll only know that if you actually go in and you you have a patient for so long, like you are going to grow a rapport with the patient. And I think like I have two amazing friends who I live with, and I think like they're both student nurses as well. So like at the end of our shift, we just sit down and we just reflect, and not too much, and we just like talk about each other's days, and yeah, just like, and then like I think the most important thing really is, if you want to cry, cry. But if you leave crying, it'll only impact you, and you only go in the next day upset, and you won't perform your best because you have this crying that you want to get out. So I think that if you want to cry, let it out, because like as Jasmine said, we're all human. We're all going to cry, and yeah, like I think it is the emotional aspect, and just kind of. But I think like I just like kind of going out for walks. I speak to my family, speak to my friends, and just like But yeah, I think it is definitely the emotional part of nursing.
Have any of you guys used any of the university's like support services? I know you've all said you've like emotionally it can take its toll being a student nurse. Have any of you used any of the services, or is it just a case of talking to friends and family?
Yeah, but I just think really it's just like talking, because like, especially to my two friends, like they're in the same circumstances as I'm in, so I feel like they'll understand. And I remember, especially in like my adult placement in first year, and I had one of the patients say something not very nice to me. I remember I went home and I cried about it. But I feel like if I said something to that to another person, they wouldn't understand. I feel like it has to be a student nurse, and I feel it has to be someone that's going through the same part as you. And just like, but it's, as I said, like we're nurses, we're going to have hard days, we're going to have emotional days. Like we don't and I just feel like just talking to your colleagues, talking to your friends, and
I am aware of the university's services that they offer. They were offered to me after I had some incident on placement that really affected me, and I didn't use them actually, but because I already have I already use services outside of the university, and so I discussed it with my therapist myself, but I'm aware that they do offer, and they did offer it to me after this incident. So.
I've been using the counselling service at the uni for a long time now, completely unrelated to nursing, but it is good in a way to have someone to check in with every week or every 2 weeks or however often. So having somebody that you can go to and go word vomit, and then that's that, like you can move on, is really, really important. But for me, I do a lot of volunteer work on a mental health hotline. And for me, if I've had a hard shift on that, it's similar to having a hard shift at placement, I would think. And for me, that's making sure that I'm then looking after myself. Okay, the shift's been hard. Feed it back to either your mentor or to, in my case, my manager. Have a quick chat with maybe a friend, with a family member, and then really just try to keep pushing through with the day. So do things that are kind to yourself. So watching TV, eating, comfort food, having a nap, things that look after you. I think that's the important bit.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you volunteer for a helpline. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
So when I stepped off of the course to focus on my health, but I still wanted to be involved with things. I got involved with SOS, which is Silence of Suicide, a charity that has been set up in memory of Michael Mansfield, the barrister, his daughter Anna, who died by suicide in 2015. And I used to be on the phone lines, but now I am a volunteer on the email support line. And that can be quite challenging in itself, because it's very difficult to assess risk over an email, and kind of try and give someone the support that they need over an email, where they're not necessarily going to see it immediately, where you're not necessarily going to see it immediately. But yeah, I think that has definitely kept me on top of the kind of skills I can suggest, and keeping my foot in with how people are being impacted by the pandemic and by, the other things that are going on in their life. So yeah, that's the charity.
Nice, thank you. So we're on to our final two questions, so it almost comes to the end. This one's kind of a bit broader, just kind of understand what your lecturers like. Are they people that have inspired you? What kind of experience they have within the industry, and does that help when teaching you?
Yeah, my lecturers are all nurses. They all have a nursing background, apart from the maths teacher, who has honestly been my lifesaver, because I'm so bad with math, and that was one of the biggest things for me about applying was, how am I going to get through the maths? Because I knew that you needed to do maths exams every year in throughout the course, and maths just gives me anxiety like you would not believe. So yeah, credit to the maths teacher, because she's just explained things to me in ways you just can't even imagine. But yeah, they're all. I found that the support that I've received from them it's been a little bit more difficult through COVID. But even still, it's been, they're always at the other end of an email. If I need help, like I said, with my assignment, one of these assignments I just can't seem to get right, they've supported me through like using the Blackboard. I've had meetings like virtually. I had one this morning actually, and yeah, they've just been really good and really helpful, and nothing's ever too much for them. So credit to them.
So the lectures, they've been really good. Like, they're all specialised in my chosen field, which is like children's nursing. So like they're all there's like Jen, Chris, Edward. So there's quite a small group of children's lecturers. Like, there's not as large as adults, but they're all really supportive, and like they're all bubbly, and like we have fun there, and I think that we have fun but also learning. So yeah, no, they've been really good.
I would say I'm equally very lucky with the lecturers I have. I have a very good working relationship with Margaret Ryoga, but I also, my personal tutor's a mental health nurse. Obviously, there are a few that you do get to know and that you can tell are really passionate, and that really helps. They're passionate, they've worked in the field, and they want to. There's a lot of stigma when it comes to mental health, and occasionally you do get the odd colleague that comes in with a stigmatized opinion, and they are very quick to say, no, that is not correct, that's stigma, we need to be thinking about it like this. And I think that's what's so important about these lecturers, is that they are so kind of quick to say, okay, that's an old way of thinking, we need to be looking at it like this.
Cool. So final question for today is, do you know what you want to do post-university? Have you got any career aspirations, or are you just going to enjoy having some time off?
I definitely have big aspirations. Eventually, I want to be looking at matron. I really, towards the end of my career, when I qualify, I never thought I would, but I really enjoy respiratory, which is where I am at the moment. Respiratory, the team on the respiratory ward, they've been like family to me. They've treated me so well. I absolutely love working there. I love the speciality. So I think when I qualify, I would like to go back there. I have a real interest in palliative and end-of-life care. So I would like to do that. I don't know if that's even a thing, but, I'd like to be able to do both. But yeah, definitely, like I've got high hopes. So, eventually I want to be in the blue and red.
Nice.
I think for me, obviously I'm still only kind of first year, if you like, but I know I think what I want to do is kind of go into kind of crisis teams or home treatment teams. I'm really keen to kind of keep people out of hospital, obviously psychiatric hospital if avoidable. And when I was avoiding going into hospital, I worked with a crisis team, and for me that was really supportive. Kind of doing day-to-day activities, getting somebody kind of doing things again at home, that was really helpful for me. So I want to do that for someone else. I want to be by someone's side, kind of going, okay, right, what can we do today that's going to be a little bit challenging, but you're going to feel better for doing, like going out for a walk or going and getting a coffee or things like that, little things. So yeah, for me, crisis teams.
So I had an interview on Tuesday, and I'm coming to the end now of my training for a rotation program in the hospital that I'm working in. And so I actually got it. I found out yesterday that I actually got it. So it's a rotation program where you do you do 4 months in one. So say now I want to go to general pediatric ward, I'll go to a PICU, and then probably either a oncology ward or a neonatal ward. And then I spend 4 months in each, and then I picked something where I want to go permanently. So I think that would be an amazing opportunity to see where I like kind of as a new qualified nurse. So yeah, I'm very looking forward. I think it's really just like enjoying it and enjoying the journey. Like I kind of like taking one step at a time. So yeah, just do the rotation program, then go from there. And yeah, like I would love to be like, I always say band 6. That was what I'd love to be. But yeah, just take each day as it comes from me, and yeah, just enjoy the journey.
Jasmine's definitely both been like really inspirational. What you want to do in the future is really good to hear, and congrats Edel for getting the job as well.
Yes, well done.
We're all giving a virtual round of applause for our listeners.
Thank you.
So the final question now, is what would you say to anyone who is wanting to study nursing at BNU?
I would say go for it. Like, I'm older, I'm 30. So for me, it was really daunting because I thought, oh no, I'm too old. I've got children. So, I was like, how am I going to manage that? But I just think when you really want something, you can make it happen. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm a single parent. So I was like, how am I going to do this? It's like the biggest thing I've ever done. But, I'm nearly finished. I did it. So I would just say, just go for it. You don't really have anything to lose by trying. It's been the best thing I've ever done. So go for it.
Yeah, I think it's it is the best career. It is the most rewarding career. All nursing, mental health, adult, pediatrics, but I have special interest for pediatrics because I am going to be a child nurse. But yeah, children's nursing, it's just amazing. And not only deal with the patient, but you're also dealing with the family. And it's just it is an amazing career. And I think everyone should just do it. And yeah, I think it's just been an amazing journey, and a journey I'll never forget. And I can't wait to continue and meet some more incredible patients and families, and just
brilliant.
For me, I'd say come and speak to me on the Access platform. Do it. Come and speak to me, because I'm here to listen. I'm here, to answer those difficult questions. But ultimately, BNU, as I said earlier on, feels like a family. Everybody is there for everybody. As both of the others have said, lecturers in all 3 fields have been phenomenal for all sorts of different reasons. So, yeah, come and speak to us. Come to a virtual open day. You won't regret it, promise.
Cool. And for the listeners that don't know, the Access platform is basically a chat functionality where you can talk to current students and staff. So all you have to do to access that is visit our homepage on our website, and there's a little box in the bottom right-hand side which says, I think it's something like chat to current students and staff. So click that, and then you get to talk to lovely people like Jasmine. So that brings us to the end of our nursing podcast. Thanks to everyone for sharing your thoughts. It's been great to hear from you all. And from everyone here at BNU, we all hope you have a fantastic International Nurses Day.